Martha, a woman whose life had always revolved around caring for others, found herself facing the most challenging moment of her existence. On a day that began like any other, she found herself seated in an uncomfortably rigid chair in a doctor's office, her hands intertwined in an expression of anxiety. The air was saturated with palpable tension as she awaited the words of Dr. Freeman, an oncologist with a soft-spoken demeanor and eyes carrying the weight of unwanted news. "Martha," Dr. Freeman began hesitantly, "the results of your tests have shown that you have advanced stage cancer." The words fell into the silence of the office like stones into a tranquil lake, deeply disturbing Martha's peace. For a moment, the world seemed to slow down and she felt as though a fog had descended over her consciousness. What are my chances of survival? Dr. Freeman sighed, weighing his next words carefully. "It's hard to say precisely, Martha. The chances are modest, but there are intensive treatment options. We are talking about a combination of chemotherapy and radiation, possibly followed by surgery. It won't be easy, and there will be significant side effects." Martha felt a lump form in her throat, but instead of succumbing to despair, something within her ignited. A flame of determination she didn't know she possessed. Lifting her head, her eyes met the doctor's with a newfound intensity. "So, we fight," she declared, her voice gaining strength. "No matter how slim my chances, I need to try. For myself, for my family, I won't give up without a fight." Dr. Freeman nodded, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. "That's very brave of you, Martha. You won't be alone in this. We'll do everything in our power to fight this." In that moment, despite the fear and uncertainty surrounding her, Martha felt a strength emerge from within. The journey would be arduous, she knew, but she also knew that every step toward fighting for her life would be worth it. That night, Martha living room transformed into a scene laden with tension and anticipation. Daniel, her husband, a soft-spoken man with a smile that could always brighten the darkest days, sat on the couch, his gaze fixed on Martha. Mark, the couple's teenage son whose energy and enthusiasm were the household's joy, paused his activities, sensing the seriousness of the moment. Both waited, a sense of unease hanging in the air. Martha took a deep breath, gathering every fragment of courage she possessed. "Daniel, Mark, I have something very important to share with you," she began, her voice trembling but firm. The ensuing silence was almost tangible, as if the world outside had paused to listen. "The doctors." The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of fear and uncertainty. Daniel immediately rose, his face pale, reflecting the shock those words elicited. "Martha, my love, how can this be?" His voice was a whisper, laden with emotion. Mark, meanwhile, seemed frozen, his eyes wide, the reality of the situation slowly seeping into his young consciousness. "Mom, you'll be okay, right?" His voice, normally full of youthful confidence, was now broken with concern. Martha looked at the two, love and determination shining in her eyes. "I won't lie, it's going to be a tough battle, but I promise you, I'll fight with everything I have, and I'm not alone. We'll face this together as a family. We'll overcome this challenge no matter how difficult it is." Daniel approached, enveloping Martha in his arms, a gesture of support and protection. "We are with you, Martha, together, every step of the way. You won't face this alone." Mark joined the embrace, the family unit strengthening in the face of adversity. "We are a team, Mom. We'll get through this together." That night, despite the storm of emotions, Martha's family found a new strength in their unity. They knew the road ahead would be filled with challenges, but they also knew that, together, they could face anything. The promise to fight to overcome that challenge together became the beacon that would guide them through the storm to come as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months. Martha's journey in her battle against cancer became increasingly arduous. The intensive and exhausting treatment not only took its toll on her, but also on her family. Daniel and Mark, who initially showed unwavering support, began to feel the weight of the circumstances. Daniel, who had always been the family's pillar of strength, found himself entangled in a web of additional responsibilities. Between hospital visits caring for Martha and trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy for Mark, he was exhausted. One night, while preparing dinner in pensive silence, he muttered to himself, "How are we going to keep going like this? Everything feels so different." Mark, on the other hand, faced his own internal battle. The exhausting routine and the weight of the situation began to affect his performance in school and his social life. Feeling isolated from his friends and the life he used to have, Mark confided in Martha in a rare moment of calm between them. "Mom, I miss how things were before. I try to be strong, but it's hard." Martha, despite her own struggle, felt a twinge of pain seeing what her illness was doing to her family. On a particularly difficult night, she gathered Daniel and Mark in the living room, a space once filled with laughter, now shadowed by the reality of their situation. "I see how hard this is for you both," she began, her voice choked with emotion. "And I'm so sorry for everything we are going through, but I need you, now more than ever." Daniel, eyes brimming with unshed tears, replied, "We know, love, and we are here. It's harder than we imagined." Mark, holding his mother's hand, added with a sincerity only youth can possess, "Mom, I'll try to be stronger, for you." The conversation that night revealed the cracks that had formed in the family dynamics, the reality of their new life, marked by treatments, fears, and uncertainties, had created an emotional chasm between them. As Martha's illness progressed, becoming an increasingly oppressive presence in the family's life, Daniel and Mark found themselves at a devastating emotional and moral crossroads. The harsh and relentless reality of the situation began to weigh on them in ways they had never imagined. On a bleak afternoon where the silence of the house seemed to echo with the sound of broken hearts, Daniel spoke up, his voice trembling with a mixture of pain and resolution. I just can't do this anymore," confessed Daniel, avoiding Martha's gaze. "It's tearing me apart inside, and I know Mark is suffering too. We need some time, some space to breathe, to find ourselves again." Mark, though young, carried in his eyes a burden far beyond his years. "Mom, I love you, but this is too hard. I feel like I'm losing myself," he said, the words coming out in a painful whisper. Faced with this unimaginable abandonment, Martha felt as though the last thread of hope had been ripped from her heart. However, amidst the storm of her desolation, she found unexpected anchors. Her sister Beatrice and the nurse, John. Beatrice, always the rock upon which Martha leaned, surged forth with unwavering strength and love. "Sister, I'm here," she said, gripping Martha's hands firmly. "No matter how difficult it gets, you won't face this alone. We'll get through this together." John, the nurse who had become a constant and comforting presence, offered not only his professional care, but also a friendly shoulder. "Martha, I see your struggle, and you're stronger than you think. I'm here to take care of you, to ensure you have everything you need." In this moment of abandonment and vulnerability, Martha found a new kind of family, one formed not only by blood ties but also by bonds of compassion, care, and unconditional love. Beatrice and John became her pillars, offering her the support she needed to face each new day, with hope and determination, reminding her that even in the darkest hours, she was not alone. In the quietude of her darkest days, Martha felt the weight of loneliness like a heavy cloak upon her shoulders. The battle against cancer seemed like a steep and impassable mountain. Yet, within her, a flame of resilience began to burn brighter, fueled by the solidarity of those few, but invaluable, who remained by her side. Among these pillars of support, John the nurse emerged as a central figure, not only as a caregiver, but as a true friend. In a particularly challenging afternoon, after an exultimate day, exhausting treatment session, Martha found herself engulfed in doubt and fear. It was then that John, sensing the shadow looming over her spirit, sat beside her, gently holding her hand. "Martha," he began, with a voice soft yet firm, "I know the journey is tough and the path uncertain, but you're not alone in this fight. Your strength and courage are inspiring, and I'm here by your side every step of the way." Encouraged by John's words, Martha felt a renewal in her spirit. "Thank you, John," she replied, a glint of determination in her eyes. "Sometimes I feel lost in the midst of this storm, but knowing I have you and Beatrice with me gives me the strength to carry on. I won't let myself be defeated." Together, Martha and John faced each day as a new battle, an opportunity to defy despair and embrace hope. Treatment sessions, though grueling, became more bearable with John by her side, offering emotional support, attentive care, and above all, unwavering friendship. Martha's journey, though marked by adversity, was also a tale of incredible human strength and solidarity. Through the darkness of illness, she found light in the kindness and support of those who stood by her side, proving that, even in the most challenging circumstances, solidarity and love for others can bring strength and hope. After a challenging period of battles and trials, Martha finally began to glimpse new horizons in her life. With the disease now in remission, she allowed herself to dream again, opening her heart to new experiences and possibilities. She continued with treatment, but now didn't need to go to the hospital as often. So, she made the decision to move to a new neighborhood, and that was the first step in this journey of renewal. It was a Saturday morning, the sun bathing the streets with its golden light, when Martha, accompanied only by her hopes and dreams, crossed the threshold of her new home. The neighborhood was peaceful, the streets lined with trees whispering in the wind. Neighbors with welcoming smiles wasted no time in greeting her. In one of these warm welcomes, Martha met Helena, a lady with a gentle gaze and hands that carried the wisdom of someone who knows the land. "You see, dear, this place has something special. People here have a unique way of connecting," said Helena with a smile that illuminated her face. It was Helena who introduced Martha to the world of gardening on a sunny afternoon, while showing her own garden filled with colorful flowers and aromatic herbs. Helena shared, "Each plant here has its story, just like us. Taking care of them teaches me about patience, care, and above all, about the beauty of transformation." Martha, touched by Helena's passion and wisdom, felt an immediate connection with the earth and its wonders. She started small, with a pot of daisies and one of lavender. Gradually her garden began to bloom, and with it, her soul as well. "I never imagined that the earth and plants could teach me so much about life," Martha reflected. Her hands covered in soil, a contented smile on her lips. "Gardening has brought me peace, a joy I didn't know was missing. It's as if, by caring for these plants, I'm taking care of a part of me that had been neglected." Martha found in gardening not only a new passion but also a form of meditation and connection with the world around her. Her days were now filled with the joy of seeing her plants grow, the peace of being outdoors, and the satisfaction of creating beauty with her own hands. With each new flower that bloomed, Martha felt her life gain more color and meaning, proving that even after the darkest periods, it's possible to rebuild, renew, and flourish again. And she cherished those who never abandoned her, who stayed with her on her worst days. Whenever she could, she gathered with John and Beatrice to chat and keep the bonds of closeness. Years had passed since Daniel and Mark, driven by inexplicable selfishness, had left the family shattered. The memories of their actions, though distant, still echoed with a dark persistence. Moved by the news of Martha's success, Daniel decided to return, his mind numb with her achievements. On that day, the air was charged with the electricity of an impending storm, both meteorological and emotional. Daniel, with hesitant yet determined steps, crossed the threshold separating Martha's past from present, bringing with him clouds of past conflicts. Driven by a desire to mend ties he had severed with his own hands, he found Martha in her garden, a sanctuary of peace she had cultivated with the same care she had used to rebuild her life. "Martha," Daniel began, his voice trembling, revealing the internal storm consuming him. I know I have no right to just show up like this after so long, but I needed to see you. I needed to try to make amends for the past." Martha, surprised by Daniel's sudden appearance, rose from where she had been kneeling among the flowers, wiping her hands on her skirt. Her gaze, though calm, carried the strength of waves that resist and shape the rocks around them. "Daniel," she replied, maintaining a distance that was more emotional than physical. "The past is not a broken vase that can simply be glued back together. What's done is done. And I've built a new life, a life that has no room for what tore us apart. The honesty in Martha's words hit Daniel like a lightning bolt, illuminating the reality he had been trying to avoid, that some actions are irreversible, and that forgiveness doesn't always rebuild burnt bridges. But Martha, I've changed, Daniel insisted, hopelessness beginning to tinge his voice. Is there something I can do to what, Daniel? To turn back time. We both know that's impossible, Martha interrupted, her voice firm but not devoid of compassion. You need to understand that sometimes, facing the past means accepting that it doesn't define our future. And my future, it doesn't include you. The conversation, though brief, was a tense encounter, a clash between Daniel's desire to re-enter Martha's life out of greed and the unyielding reality of the new existence she had forged for herself. Daniel, confronted with the truth in Martha's words, felt the weight of his past actions more than ever. And Martha, though shaken by the attempted invasion of her present by the past, remained steadfast, a living testament to her own resilience. In the end, Daniel left, but he didn't accept defeat. The next day, he found a lawyer to file a lawsuit against Martha, demanding that she include him and Mark in her will. Upon learning about the lawsuit filed by her son and husband who had abandoned her, Martha was extremely hurt, but she didn't falter. She then decided to countersue them, filing for divorce, citing abandonment of a vulnerable person and alleging that they only returned for money. She also sought damages for all the turmoil of their abandonment and their return after years. And it was on a night when the blue light of police sirens cut through the darkness, reflecting on the tense faces of everyone involved. Daniel and Mark, until then immersed in their own justifications, found themselves abruptly confronted by the reality of their actions. The arrival of the police, an impartial and determined force, marked the beginning of a new phase, one where the consequences of their actions could no longer be ignored. "Gentlemen, you are under investigation," announced the officer, his voice firm and authoritative, cutting through the tense air. "Every action has consequences, and it's time to face them." Daniel, his face pale under the intermittent light, exchanged a frightened look with Mark. This is a misunderstanding," he stammered, trying in vain to find an escape in the web of lies they had woven. Mark, on the other hand, remained silent, the reality of his choices finally settling in his heavy heart. Amidst this chaos, Martha, though torn apart by pain and betrayal, rose with a strength she didn't know she possessed. The decision to move forward with the complaint didn't come easy. Every word of the testimony reopened wounds she desperately tried to heal. However, driven by a visceral need for justice for the suffering caused, she spoke. I need justice to be served," Martha told the officer, her voice trembling but determined. "It's not just for me, but for everyone who has suffered at the hands of people who think they can get away with it. They abandoned me in the worst phase of my life and disappeared for years. Now they return and claim they have the right to my money. That's unacceptable." Martha's courage in the face of adversity was an act of defiance, a refusal to be defined by the actions of those who caused her pain. And while Daniel and Mark faced the legal consequences of their actions, facing an uncertain future, Martha began to tread the path of healing, strengthened by her pursuit of justice. The police intervention that night was not only the end of a dark chapter, but also the beginning of a new one, for both the perpetrators and the victim. For Daniel and Mark, it was a harsh reminder that no action remains unanswered. For Martha, it was a promise that despite the pain and betrayal, justice could bring a sense of closure and the possibility of moving forward one step at a time. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the legal process against Daniel and Mark gradually unfolded. Each hearing, each testimony, was a constant reminder of the choices they had made. And now, they faced the harsh consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, Martha watched from afar, a spectator of a battle she had bravely chosen to fight. "I never imagined it would come to this," Martha confessed to her sister Beatrice as they shared a coffee on a quiet afternoon. "But somehow, facing all of this, it's made me stronger." Her sister, listening intently, smiled in support. "You incredibly brave, Martha. Not many would have the strength to do what you done." Martha reflected on those words. The journey had been arduous, marked by moments of doubt and despair. Yet at every step of the way, she had found fragments of herself she didn't even know existed. Adversity, thou cruel, had been a stern yet fair teacher. "I've learned so much," she continued, gazing at the horizon, "about justice, about resilience, and about the value of moving forward no matter how difficult the path." With Daniel and Mark now navigating the turbulent waters of the legal system, Martha felt a chapter of her life closing. It wasn't exactly a happy ending, but it was closure, a necessary conclusion for her to begin rebuilding her life on new foundations. She dedicated herself to causes dear to her heart, finding purpose in helping others facing similar adversities. Each person she assisted, each life she touched, was a reminder that even in the darkest hours there was hope, and most importantly, she allowed herself to love and be loved again, opening her heart to new possibilities. "What happened shouldn't affect me," Martha affirmed with conviction as she walked through the park on a sunny morning, feeling the gentle breeze on her face. "It's just a part of my story, and I decide how the rest will be written." With gratitude for the lessons learned and the strength found in adversity, Martha continued her life, dedicating herself to who and what truly mattered. She knew the journey ahead would still have its challenges, but now she felt equipped to face them, with the certainty that, in the end, everything would be okay. After following Martha's journey, you might be wondering how you too can find strength in adversity and transform your own life. Martha's story is just one example of how challenges can lead us to a path of self-discovery and personal growth. If you've been inspired by Martha's story and wish to explore more stories like hers, I have something special for you. Introducing the ebook 7 Weeks of Inspiration, a carefully curated collection of 49 stories, one for each day, designed to guide you on a journey of self and transformation over 7 weeks. Each day brings not only a story but also a deep reflection, a prayer to nurture your spirit, and a concrete action to apply the lessons to your daily life. And best of all, when you purchase the ebook, you'll receive not only the written version but also the narrated one, allowing you to immerse yourself in the stories even more deeply. Additionally, you'll receive 3 exclusive bonuses that will complement your transformation journey. Don't miss the opportunity to embark on this transformative journey. Click the link below and get your 7 weeks of inspiration now. Allow yourself to be inspired and transform each day of your life. Stories move and inspire. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like and share. See you in the next story.